is Paul Frazier, and I'm from Rutherford, and I'm happy to be here at Social Club Records. I'm a musician, producer, songwriter, programmer, and I like good food. There you go. And right now, I'm here to shop around and show you what I got.
What do you got then?
How could you not love this record? Sting, Stuart Copeland, Andy Summers. I listen to these guys a lot. I'm not going to say when because that'll date me, so I'm just going to say when I first heard these guys play, I thought they were great. But mostly because of the drummer, Stuart Copeland, I thought was just amazing. And so pretty much all their records, but this is what I picked up right now. Put that down. Okay. Ooh. All right. Well, when it comes to rock, I loved Zeppelin, Heart, Hendrix, but this one popped up, so I just love this band because I loved their approach to music. I love the vocals and the musicianship, so this goes down as one of my favorite records.
Up on the hill, people never stand. They just don't care.
This record is, to me, has some of the best musicians in New York, California. Steely Dan, those guys were great songwriters, and there was just so many not only great people on this record, but I think it was pretty much every song on the record that if you're a Steely Dan fan, you listen to every song. So if you haven't heard it, check it out. All right. This band, Chicago, was probably one of my favorite bands growing up. I probably listened to their live record live at Carnegie Hall. So it was a 4-album set, and I think I have 3 copies of all 4 albums. My turntable just turned it into popcorn. But this record in particular was their first, and the guitar player, Terry Kath, was a great guitar player, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jimi Hendrix said, when he was asked what guitar players does he like, and this is who he said he loved, Terry Kath. So, if you haven't heard it, check it out. There's a whole, I don't know if it takes up the whole side, but it's just crazy guitar stuff on this record, so if you haven't heard it, The Fifth Dimension. I don't know, these guys were different. I was listening to a lot of R&B when I was growing up, and this wasn't the typical sound of R&B. They were kind of, I don't know the best way to describe them, but they were not super soulful, but yet soulful. They had a sound, and I thought it was different, and I loved their songs, and I love their attitude. And if you haven't seen them, check out the movie Summer of Soul. Pretty rocking in that too.
In the days of my youth, I was told what it means to be a man.
I think I talked about them when I picked up the Heart record, but Led Zeppelin, I mean, for me as a bass player, John Bonham, the coolest rock drummer ever to live. And John Paul Jones was my favorite because he not only played the bass, he played keyboards, he wrote a lot of the music, and he was kind of the free safety, if you want to use sports as a... I saw Steve Way pick this out, and I have to agree with him. Tribe Called Quest was, to me, one of the coolest hip-hop bands of the 90s. And I was in a band called Funky Poets in the 90s. We were on Sony, and I got a chance to hang out with them and play basketball with Q-Tip and Five Dog, and it was pretty competitive. We definitely had a lot of fun doing that, but they were great live, and their recordings were awesome. And this one...
No more lying friends, wanting tragic ends.
This Stevie Wonder is probably my favorite musician of all time. He could just do anything. And as a bass player, I thought he was the coolest keyboard bass player, so I just call him a bass player. I learned so much from him. Writing-wise, singing-wise, arranging-wise, he's just one of the best. So he covers a lot of R&B for me. Deodato is a Brazilian composer, keyboard player, arranger. He just did so much cool stuff. He's worked with so many great groups like Earth, Wind & Fire, and it's just something about his style of his approach that really, really made me pay attention to him. So pretty much every record he ever put out, I bought it. Weather Report. They were one of my favorite jazz fusion bands. They just had a great sound. Joe Zawinul used to play with Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter also, the bass player Alphonso Johnson, and Jaco Pastorius, but both of those guys are some of my favorites, and the music was just so well written. And I would put every one of their records in my bag every time. Stanley Clarke. Was in a band called Return to Forever. He was a great upright bass player as well as electric, and he was definitely a pioneer for electric bass and jazz. He just had a great sound. He was like very tall. He had long fingers, and he just make it look so effortless when he was playing. So I really loved him, and yet something else for you to listen to if you've never checked it out. And for me, one of my favorite people in jazz, Miles Davis. when I first started playing music, I was taking lessons from my aunt, and she was a classical pianist, and I loved playing whatever she was teaching me. And I think it was when I moved here to Rutherford. I was in 4th grade, and I wanted to bang on the drums. They had no more drumsticks left, no more snare drums, so I went to trombone and started listening to Miles. And you know, I wasn't a trumpet player. I wasn't playing anything that sounded like I could play that high to be a trumpet player, but I tried to follow it as much as I can. And then I actually just got into what he was doing and what the band was doing, and he is one of my all-time favorites. And I think that does it. So if you haven't been here, you have to come here. It's great. Live music, DJs, great people, great atmosphere, and I love it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Paul.
My host, the host, Eddie Spaghetti.